Hello everyone, it's Mr. Wolfe, and in this video I'm going to be going over self-assessment. So after you've completed an assignment, how you could self-assess your work and many times turn it in to complete your badge. So we have, let's say this was an assignment. This was an assignment we are doing early in the year for biology where we have to run an experiment, the effect of light on photosynthesis. And we ran a simulation, right, to design an experiment and eventually collect our data. And so this is my designed experiment on this page, and this page as well is where I collected my data. All right. So you can't just complete the work because you have no clue if you did it correctly or not. So it's all about fail cheaply, fail often in terms of do the work, get feedback, and improve for next time. So what you want to do is you want to get a key. Now, for many of you, you'll be accessing this online via Canvas. I have a hard copy of the key here. Right? And when you self-assess, you can't just really quickly like go boom, boom, boom. Yeah, it looks like it, for the most part, everything looks good. You really got to go in detail and look at each part individually. And you're going to show that you did that by kind of annotating your self-assessment. All right, so for instance, I'm going to look here. What effect does light have on photosynthesis? It looks like I have that. So if that's the case, give yourself some kudos. All right, you had the question right. How are you manipulating this variable? Light in this instance, I say I'm adjusting the brightness of the lamp. Here it says adjusting the intensity of the lamp shining on the plant. It seems like for the most part that's the same. So awesome, I got that correct too. And this is my independent variable. So I'm off to a great start. Now right here, how are you measuring this variable? What variable is this? Well, it looks like I got it right that it's the dependent variable, but I did not give enough information of how I'm measuring this variable. So what I might do is underline this question, draw an arrow, and then add in the correct how many bubbles reach the surface in 15 seconds. All right. So next time I know that I should have this. Right? I need more detail for what my dependent variable actually is. So if I go on here, my control group, right, is the group, or my control variable, control group. I said it's the group that gets no light. Right? The group with no light dissolved in water. Right? The dissolved actually is a typo on my part. So yeah, this looks good. I got my control group. No light. The group with no light. So constants, I said we will make sure to conduct multiple trials because I know that you usually have to have multiple trials in an experiment. But if I look at my key, you should have at least 3 examples, the same plant, same amount of CO2, same count for bubbles. Oh, so this is different. So it looks like constants are making sure that I keep everything else the same. So I might kind of cross this out, all right, and say same count for bubbles, or same time to count for bubbles, same plant, same amount of CO2. All right. And then for my hypothesis, it says if light increases, then photosynthesis will decrease. It actually does increase when we run the experiment, but luckily this is a hypothesis. You don't really need to give yourself feedback if you don't want to here. You could end up saying what actually happens, but hypothesis, don't worry about this as much. All right, for the data table, all right, so I'm going to look at my data table compared to this one, the key, and there looks like I have some similarities, like I have trials, so I might just give myself some kudos for that. I talk about the light level or the amount of light, seems like the same thing, and I'm measuring the amount of bubbles, awesome, but it looks like I didn't give maybe enough detail, so in 15 seconds I might add that in. All right. Now, one thing it looks like I do not have is I just have 2 groups, no light and light. So it looks like I have a control and experimental group, but it looks on this data table that I had many more groups. So maybe what I'll do is I'm going to add some feedback for next time, right? Adding multiple light levels, not just, what. And by the way, I didn't even add if this was light level 1, 2, 3, or 4. So I would need to do that too. But next time I'm going to make sure that I just maybe have a little bit more groups if I have the option for that. All right. So I'm going to go on to the next page, see how I did. And it looks like I have a different graph completely. This is a bar graph, this is a line graph. So, and maybe I'm looking at this and I know that it needs to be a line graph. Maybe I don't know why. So there's options. I could go back to my resources, all right, and you'll find that we use a line graph whenever we have continuous data. So there's, even though this is a 1 and 2, I know that there's a 1.5 in between here. And we use a graph for categories. Or sorry, we use a bar graph if I have categories. So there is actually really no in between no light and light. So maybe I did do something right here, all right, based on the fact that I just did not collect many data points. Maybe I should have made a bar graph. I'm not sure though. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, make a big star. I'm going to even like write it in my phone or something and just say like, ask Mr. Wolfe about this. Right? So some of these things you're just going to need to follow up with me personally to get that feedback. Okay, if you're not sure why the key is different from what you have. So I'm going to go on and look at this, and I'm going to say, all right, well, looks like maybe I could have also just written down light intensity right here. And I might even then just like add the fact that maybe next time have continuous data right there. It looks like I labeled this okay, amount of bubbles. Maybe I might specify in 15 seconds. All right. Oh, it looks like I also forgot a title too. So title, I might underline that. Like next time, remember title. Right? And I'll write down, okay, this looks like it's the effect of light on photosynthesis. All right. And then I might say of Elodia plant. All right. So besides that, I think I've given myself enough feedback there. Right? For interpreting data, right, the graph shows the amount of bubbles released by the Elodia plant versus no light conditions. Let's see what I have here. Right, the graph shows the effect of light intensity on photosynthesis for an Elodia plant. It looks like for the most part that I said what the graph is showing, just like I did here. Wrote it differently, but it looks like the same thing. So I'm good there. I'm going to give myself some kudos. Now, in terms of the content and patterns, I said no bubbles were produced by the plant and no light, while many bubbles were produced when there was light, right, which is true. Here, though, one thing that I notice is that it looks like I have like a pattern, like while many, right? I'm kind of comparing there, which is good. So I'm going to give myself a check mark because I have the pattern. But it doesn't look like I have enough of the content right here. All right, so I'm going to write to myself, remember numbers. Right? I should say something when produced when there was light. How many bubbles? 8 bubbles here. Okay. So notice when you give yourself feedback, right, that you should be really writing down the correct answers or write notes to yourself of remember this next time or ask Mr. Wolfe. Even if you got everything correct, right, make sure that you give yourself a check mark or you even say like what did I get right about this? So maybe just like control group, like writing it down. Yes, I know how to do this. Right? Star, something like that. So this is how you would self-assess your work to show that you really thought through getting that feedback. Hope this video helped.